My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China?
Yeah, he has. And looks like Joel's also rolling in the dough. Now, it began in July 2017 during Hunter's infamous takedown of a Chinese business associate. Now, at the time, Biden's son warned that individual that he was sitting with his father and that if the commitment wasn't fulfilled, he said he would make certain that between the man sitting next to him and every person he knew and knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following his direction. Well, according to Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, the threat worked. Just a few days later, $5 million flowed in from a Chinese affiliate to Hudson West, which is a company that Hunter founded. That same day, Hudson West sent $400,000 to a separate company also owned by Hunter. Now, some of that money was sent to Joe's brother, James, and his wife, Sarah. It's like a family tree of corruption. Well, what about the rest of it?
A few days later, Sarah Biden cut a check to Joe Biden for $40,000. The memo line of the check said loan repayment.
Loan repayment? Joining me now is Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor. Newt, you don't really need to be a forensic accountant to figure out what's going on here. I mean, it's not lost on any of us, I don't think, that the math does check out on that famous line, 10% for the big guy. What other family operates like this? Maybe the Clintons, but this is just obvious.
Look, I think the most interesting question historically that we're now faced with is how long can the New York Times and the Washington Post avoid every single example of Biden corruption? Remember, Biden not only just got, we were told this week, he got another check from China. Earlier we were told that he got a $200,000 check from his brother from China. We've now been told that there's some 80,000 plus emails under false names that he used while vice president there at the National Archives. I mean, at what point does this become so obviously the most corrupt administration in American history that even his allies at the New York Times and the Washington Post have to finally break down and decide they're going to start assigning reporters and doing what they should be doing if they were actually really newspapers?
Well, Newt, here's what the Democrats are saying in response to this news. You'll be shocked.
Two brothers loan each other money, they pay it back. Not in office. End of story. One brother gives one brother money, the other brother pays it back. No one is elected at all. They're both private citizens. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, it could be this. It could be that. We think it's this. We think that. No evidence. We're back to the same thing.
Newt, it's not like the pot of money is fungible here. They all have individual talent, you know, that warrants that kind of money.
Look, for the average American, there is an easy, common sense question. If these guys were named Joe Wilmington, would they have gotten the money out of China? Would they have gotten the money out of Romania? Would they have gotten the money out of Russia? Would they have gotten the money out of Ukraine? Would they have gotten the money out of Kazakhstan? No person in America, except some hard-left dweeb, believes that this money went for any reason except that Joe Biden was a major political force and that he was basically trading on his name and that his family was getting wealthy off of his name and that he did things that aren't explained. You know, he now has 3 times as many emails as Hillary Clinton did that are from a fake name. I mean, this is an astonishing, in a normal world, the entire apparatus of the Justice Department would be going nuts, tearing this apart. If his name was Richard Nixon, this would now be a gigantic scandal, and he would be right on the edge of impeachment. I mean, let's just be clear. Only the desperation of the establishment to avoid Donald Trump winning is allowing them to prop up what is clearly a corrupt, totally dishonest, and routinely every day lying family who are closer to the Sopranos than they are to George Washington.
Yeah, 82,000 pages worth of these private emails, Newt. That's all. All right, Newt, it's great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.